The Evergreen Media Network Studios, brought to you by Evergreen Media, creating cohesive marketing campaigns. Evergreen Media in Vero Beach.
Treasure Coast Connector, connecting residents and businesses of the Treasure Coast. And here's your host, Ellen Contreras.
Welcome to Treasure Coast Connector. I'm your host, Ellen Contreras. Treasure Coast Connector is the talk show, an online community where we put a spotlight on interesting local businesses and resources, then connect them to you, the consumers in the community. Everyone has an interesting story of why they do what they do. When we learn about what's happening in our own backyard and support local businesses, it strengthens our local economy. For details on the show, links to discounts, promos, past interviews, check out www.tcconnector.com. Well, when something is wrong with our bodies, we will go to a doctor for treatment. However, when it comes to our mental health, often we don't seek the help that we need because sometimes we feel ashamed. Let's put a stop to that right now. Joining me in the studio today is Dr. Anthony Foster and Jezel Rosa, and she is a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. They are with Lighthouse Health Group with offices in Vero Beach and Jupiter. They've got a lot of great information to share with us today, so welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you guys are here. As I mentioned, I really feel that this is something that needs to be addressed. And when I first met you, and we'll get into that later, I was like, wow, I loved what you said. When you joined and I got your newsletter from Lighthouse Health Group, I really liked what, they had to say about you. But before we talk about the work that you do, I'd like to hear from both of you a little bit about what got you into healthcare, specifically mental health. And Dr. Foster, is it okay if we start with Jezel first?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So let's go.
Yeah, well, with me, I got into nursing back in 1999. So I've been in nursing for quite a long time.
It's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah. And I got into nursing from actually taking care of my grandmother when she had a stroke. I was 12, 13 years old when she lived with us, and she made the impression that I should go into nursing, and it stuck. As I was in nursing, I gravitated towards mental health about maybe 10 years into it. I was doing a lot of work with Alzheimer's dementia patients. And then when I moved to the Florida Keys in 2009, I ended up in a crisis stabilization detox unit, working there as a nurse. Mm-hmm. And that's when I really started honing in my skills for psychiatric care. And there was a psychiatric nurse practitioner there, and she really encouraged me to go back to school. And here I am now, as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. But it was really just the way life kind of brings you into that direction from one point to another. And with nursing, you have so many doors that open up to you. And I think it's really fate. I believe in faith as well, that kind of brought me in that direction, in that path.
That's wonderful. And how about you, Dr. Foster?
Well, this is my second life.
Yes.
So I didn't think I was going to have a second life. I started my career in the chain restaurant chain industry, I should say. And I had worked my way up through a couple of chains. And that industry is one where alcohol use is pretty big.
Yeah,
and
unfortunately.
over a period of 20 years, that caught up to me. And I ended up going to treatment. And in treatment, I saw a therapist helping someone who was really distressed. And I had been distressed, but by this point in treatment, I was a little bit more aware. And I knew that I couldn't go back to restaurants because I would drink again. And my story of how close to death I came was pretty profound to me, in that I lost 65 pounds in 6 weeks.
Oh, my goodness,
all my toenails fell out, and I was yellow. And that was the day I went to treatment. And so I didn't want to die, and I knew I had to do something else. And I was sitting in a room and saw this therapist taking care of someone, and I thought, I could do that. I need to do something else. I was 45 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to do it right. I didn't want to just say I'm this or I'm that, take a test and move forward. I went back to school and got 2 master's degrees and a PhD, and probably some might say did it alcoholically and that I overdid it. But I was lucky enough to be an intern where I got sober, become a therapist where I got sober, and clinical director where I got sober, and ultimately program director.
That's amazing.
And that's how I got into this.
Yeah, I love that story. So, through what you have witnessed and through what you have experienced has just, emboldened you to go on the paths that you're on. And I think that's amazing. So now you recently joined Lighthouse Health Group. So I'd like for you to just talk about a lot of, I guess, the different types of conditions that people come to you for help with. I would like for you to talk about the types of therapy you offer. And then I saw, and I actually asked Tammy, the office manager, if I'm not saying her title correctly, director. She's the director, Tammy Adams. Okay. This toothbrush therapy. So if you could just give a little overview of all of that, please.
Because of my background and my work history since I became a therapist, I primarily see people that are related to substance abuse in some way. I see others, but very often there's something there, alcohol or drugs. There's a high incidence of trauma with people who have alcohol or drug use issues, and so I do a lot of trauma work. I do a lot helping people to get sober, and toothbrush therapy is something to help them stay sober once they've established their sobriety. And it's basically 5 things to do every day, basically forever, to stay sober. And my biggest accomplishment in my life, I believe, is that here we are 22 years later, and I'm still doing those 5 things.
Wow.
And to be honest, I'm almost afraid to not do them.
Yeah.
Because they got me this far. So.
Well, that is wonderful. And now, when I first, met you, as a matter of fact, no, I'm skipping my questions around. I'm sorry. We're going to talk about what you do after the break. But what I wanted to do was go back to what I said in the intro. When people are sick, they have a heart condition or diabetes, or their kidneys aren't filtering properly, rheumatoid arthritis, there's medicine. People have no problem, going for that treatment, getting that medicine to feel better. But our brains are a complex organ too, right? And if there's an issue, even if it's not a brain chemistry issue, maybe somebody doesn't need medicine, but they need help, they feel bad about that. And I'd like to really put a stop to that. So we'll start with Jezel. What would you like to say to just end this stigma, please, once and for all, for the people that are listening and watching?
Well, I'd like you to think about mental health in the fact that we have a neck, and that neck is connected to our body. And anything that is happening with our mental health is ultimately affecting our body. So when you're treating your mental health symptoms, whether it's through therapy, nutrition, lifestyle, medication, you are actually helping your whole health. And Margaret Chan actually said it best, that there is no health without mental health. She was the World Health Organization medical director, I believe.
Say that sentence one more time, please.
There is no health without mental health.
I love that. We just needed to just take a few extra seconds on that statement. That is brilliant. I love that. And what would you like to add to that?
Well, I find that the people that I talk to are at 2 extremes. Some people actually want the world to know that they have this issue.
Okay.
They almost brag about it. And the other people who are often professionals who don't want anybody to know about it. So there doesn't seem to be the right balance in between. So it's getting to that that I think is the important part, because bragging about it keeps you there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
That's true too.
and hiding it
Also keeps you there.
also keeps you there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really like that. And before we cut to break, I would like for you to give the information for both Vero Beach and Jupiter. So how about you want to handle Vero Beach with the phone number, and the address and the website? We do have a graphic. We can cheat a little. Look at
Okay.
that. Yay. Okay.
Okay, so the Vero Beach office is located at 787 37th Street, Suite 120. And that's phone number 772-226-5368, and that is in Vero Beach.
Mm-hmm. And it's lighthouseverobeach.com. And would you like for me? I'm going to read
Yes.
that. Don't
Thank
worry
you.
about that, Dr. Foster. So the Jupiter office, 4600 Military Trail, Suite 103. The phone number 561-249-7400, lighthousehealthflorida.com. And with that, we're going to take a very quick break. Are you proud of me, Cindy? We're getting right on time with that break, but stay tuned. We'll be right back with lots more information.
It's hurricane season. Prune your trees now with Scott Tree Services. Strengthen your trees against high winds and remove broken limbs that could cause damage. Don't get nervous. Call Scott Tree Services.
Blue Dolphin Pools strives to provide quality service with a well-trained staff in the field and in the office. They want you to know that your pool or spa investment means much more to them than just another account. They believe you have entrusted them with your investment, and they'll do their best to see that it stays in top condition. Blue Dolphin Pool has been in business over 35 years, setting them apart from the competition. Residential or commercial, Blue Dolphin will keep you in the swim. 567-5853.
Sturgis Lumber is the county's most trusted hardware store. Sturgis stocks stainless steel products, power tools, construction and painting supplies, propane, plumbing, and electrical parts. 4645 US 1 Vero Beach, Sturgis Lumber and Hardware.
Summer's here, and it's a great time to create your outdoor room at Sunshine Furniture. Right now, during our summer clearance sale, you can save 10 to 50% on furniture from Berlin Garden, Lloyd Flanders, Woodard, Windward, Beechcraft, and more. We're the outdoor furniture experts and have any style of furniture that you need, all built to withstand the Florida elements, and we specialize in replacement cushions, umbrellas, outdoor rugs, and fire pits. Come in now for our summer sale, including 50% off all pictures, lamps, and accessories. Sunshine Furniture, $12.95 US 1 in the Publix Plaza, Vero Beach. Family owned since 1991. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com, and don't forget to shop our outlet store right across the street.
Sunshine Furniture brightens up your day. Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Ooh, have a sunshine day.
Welcome back to Treasure Coast Connector. I'm your host, Ellen Contreras. I am with Dr. Anthony Foster and Jezel Rosa. Jezel, I want to make sure I get this right, psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. They are with Lighthouse Health Group with offices in Vero Beach and Jupiter. And we're just going to go right back into our conversation. And when you and I first met, you were invited to speak at the Treasure Coast Premier Women's Network. What you said got the attention of a lot of people, and that was with regard to medicine and being over-medicated. So just like what Dr. Foster did in the first half, I'd like for you to explain the work that you do, the different types of things that you help people with, and some of the things that you specialize in. And especially, let's also talk about the medication and being over-medicated.
Absolutely. Well, my specialty really is integrative psychiatric medicine. And what that is traditional conventional medicine just looks at pills as the end-all solution for mental health treatments. And an integrative psychiatric practices, and in my specialty, what I do is I look at the whole person. Like I said before, we have a neck. So we can't ignore the fact that nutrient deficiencies can create mental health symptoms. We can't ignore the fact that the gut microbiome is our second brain. All of those factors. So looking for underlying root causes for the mental health symptoms and using and leveraging psychotropic medications in the interim as we're investigating, looking for root causes and then correcting them. And then evaluating whether or not this person, could come off of those medications later on after symptoms start improving. Then the other side of that is the deprescribing, which is what you were referring to with my talk at the Treasure Coast Women's Connection. So what I found is that many people oftentimes, before they come to this, maybe there's a different way, for treating my mental health symptoms. They've kind of gone through this path of being labeled treatment resistant, and they're on 4 or 5 different medications. And so looking at those patients, you start to see that a lot of these medications are actually interacting with each other, either by direct drug interactions, or they actually stopped working, and instead of switching to something else or looking for what was actually causing the problem to begin with, they just kept adding, the providers just kept adding more medications. Okay. And so, that leads down a slippery slope when we're dealing with neurotransmitters in our brain and messing around with brain chemistry, because that's how these medications work. But not everyone has a brain chemistry issue. And when you look at the research out there, there's an article that quote unquote debunked the serotonin hypothesis. In fact, what they found was that the majority of people with depression do not have a serotonin deficiency. There are other factors. And basically what that study showed is that, which we've all really known, is that depression in and of itself is multifactorial, and so are other mental health issues. It's not just one thing, one singular thing. And oftentimes medications are only helping one factor of that. And so looking at the person as a whole, again, looking at the biology, so doing lab work and making sure that we are, the person is repleted in their nutrients, and then also looking at the risk for medications. But not just the psychotropic medications, but also all their medications, because there are also interactions with other medications, like their heart medications, seizure medications, and things of that nature as well.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you are here, to help, sort all of that out. So now let's just say that somebody says, I really think that I need to speak with someone. So from the moment that they look at your website and then they make that phone call up until like their first, treatment or so, if you can walk us through that process of when someone first comes to Lighthouse Health Group.
Well, they will fill out a backstory of their life and what they're here to see us for, what's happened to them in the past, what medications they're taking, and that informs us before their first appointment.
Wonderful. And then when they first come in, what is a first, session like? It's probably a longer one. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to explain what they experience there.
Yeah, the initial session for me is 60 minutes long, so 1 hour, and that gives me time to, review the information that they've provided, and then the person time, asks appropriate questions to figure out what are the potential root causes of this person's mental health symptoms, and focusing more on the symptoms than diagnosis, though, you quote unquote have to give a diagnosis for insurance purposes, but we don't accept insurance. We're private pay. But some people who want to submit to their insurance for out-of-network benefits
they can still do
require the diagnosis. But I always explain to my patients, doesn't mean, we're targeting symptoms, don't, like he was talking about. Some people get so hung up on the label and the whole, I think, era of TikTok and all kind of makes it popular to have certain diagnoses when in fact, people are actually suffering with these diagnoses, and some people, brings shame. So I say, what are our target symptoms? What are we actually trying to reduce and eventually eliminate or manage? Because we can't get rid of anxiety.
Right.
Anxiety is part of our innate nervous system, alarm system, et cetera. But
there to
trying to
protect us,
control it.
basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So trying to control, manage the symptoms as best we can, either with medication, nutrition, supplements, skills, combination of those.
And before the show, you brought up a good point about, like, because one of the things that people can come and see you for is, issues with relationships, marriage or whatever, relationships in general. But you made a very good point about how people might feel. And, you work with your wife as well.
My wife is also a therapist, and we found about 10 years ago that couples sometimes work much better with couples. And there's not a lot of therapists that offer both husband and wife with another husband and wife or spouses. And we tried that 10 years ago, and it works so well in that both people feel supported. And it usually in the past, it's been the person who picks out the therapist that feels more supported. The other person often feels alienated. This way, there's both, and we've done that for a long time now.
Yeah.
And it's worked well. And if I could just say how my session is different the first session than yours, because we're completely different what we do.
Yeah.
Mine's talk therapy, and I don't schedule an hour after my first hour because I let it go for as long as it has to go. Because I've always believed that the most important thing is between a therapist and a client is building the relationship. And if we don't hit it off in that first session, we're wasting each other's time and wasting their money.
Okay.
So I spend as much time as is necessary in the first session. And usually it's an hour and 15 to an hour and 45. And then we go from there.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I really do. And so what I'd also like is in the second half, we have, the two locations. You're in Vero Beach and Jupiter. I forgot to ask, what are the hours of operation?
So Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay.
I'm in the Vero Beach office only.
Okay.
And I'm there Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm in the office on Thursdays. I do telehealth on Tuesdays. And we'll start doing TMS there where I'll start the initial sessions on Friday. So that is something else we'll be offering as well.
Yeah, this goes by very fast. So what I'd like to do, if you could put up that graphic again, Cindy, we're going to read off. So the Vero Beach office is located at 787 37th Street, Suite 120 in Vero Beach. The phone number 772-226-5368. The website, lighthouseverobeach.com. The Jupiter office, 4600 Military Trail, Suite 103. Phone number 561-249-7400, lighthousehealthflorida.com. All right, so we're almost out of time. I can't believe it. So in addition to the talk therapy, very quickly, what is the TMS?
Oh, transcranial magnetic stimulation for patients who are treatment resistant with depression and want an alternative.
I like that a lot. Yeah, she's just letting us know we have 60 seconds. She's militant with the time, unfortunately. But you can always come back again, and we can actually take a deeper dive into a particular therapy if you'd like, because what you just said about TMS, that is going to pique a lot of people's interest. So at this point, I'm going to say visit the website and then call for information. And so I want to say thank you both very much. Jezel Rosa, Dr. Anthony Foster,
Thank you.
Lighthouse Health Group. You're going to help untold many, many people on the Treasure Coast. With that, my name is Ellen Contreras, host of Treasure Coast Connector. I hope that everyone has a safe, productive, wonderful week. And until next week, I miss you already.